My name is Ralph. I am a bass player, singer, producer for a couple bands, a couple of musical projects. I'm a 50-year-old man and deep in the throes of some kind of midlife crisis. So I figured after my wife, who has been encouraging me to somehow utilize social media, which I detest with every single fiber of my being, to make some kind of video format, I figured I'd do it. I used to do a YouTube video. Maybe this will be a YouTube video. Who knows? I'm doing it in the very tall, whatever format you call this, portrait. And so anyways, I'm sitting here in my little recording studio in San Bernardino, beautiful scenic San Bernardino, California. Once upon a time, the murder capital of the entire country. Probably still is, just they're all unsolved, so they don't really qualify as, murders per se. I figured, you know what? I'm a guy my whole life who I have wanted to make music and have had zero acumen in it. And I figured I got to a certain point in my life where I realized I can actually make music. I can make cool songs. I like making stuff. But nobody listens to them. Maybe a handful of you guys, if you're out there and you've listened to these things, good job. Congrats. Thank you. But for those of you that haven't, that's what I do. I make music that's just, I don't even know how to really classify it other than it somehow lives in the space between punk rock, metal, industrial, synthwave, rock and roll stuff. And it's, pretty basic and pedantic, but it is what I do. It's what I love. And I've spent the greater part of my life since I was a teenager doing it. And now I'm sitting on a couple decades of doing this stuff. Figured I'd quickly say hi and just let you guys know what I've learned over the years, and then maybe it can help somebody else out. So this is how you do it when you have no money. This is my little recording studio. Beautiful, all some of my records behind me. Can't see it over there. A bunch of wall paintings and stuff. I paint and stuff too. I lived here for about 10 years of my life. I was functionally homeless. I was living in a warehouse, which is not an ideal living situation. Didn't have a shower, didn't have a kitchen. Found ways around that. Induction burner, using a toilet as a way to dump your waste instead of a food, what do you call it? A frickin' thing in your sink, incinerator. Showering at the gym, going to the gym, staying fit somewhat. I'm a little fluffy, but for 50, I still get it. Do my burpees, do my power cleans, do my squats, my deadlifts, my kettlebell routines, all that shit. So anyways, I wanted to talk about recording and why I think recording as an independent person is valuable and why you should do it and why I still do it at the ripe old age of 50 and why I'm never going to stop until I'm dead is because it's a form of artwork that is permanent. And I think turning 50 this year, I turned 50 a month or a little less than a month ago, maybe, or more than a month ago. I realized life is finite, but art is infinite. And that's a quote from somebody that I don't know who said it, but I agree with it. And I think I personally resonate with that. I lost both my parents within the space of a couple of years. Both died suddenly, very unexpectedly, kind of unexpectedly. I knew they were going to die eventually, but heart attacks, sudden heart attacks, take them out. I'm probably going to die of a heart attack one of these days. Runs in my family. And so I realized we don't have that much time on this earth. I don't have this much more time on this earth. And what do you want to do with it? And I'll give you a little backstory. So when I was 17, graduating high school, I was picking a college to go to. I got offered scholarships to play lacrosse because I was a boss at lacrosse. Big beefy boy who can knock people over. I'm a great crease defenseman. I will lay your ass out. And that's what I did. That was my whole function. I could take a take a lacrosse ball to the chest before the goalie got it, and I could knock you down. And that was the extent of my athletic prowess. But I was good at it, and I loved it, and got offered scholarships. But instead of taking a scholarship, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go to an art school. So I went to an art school. I went to the College of Santa Fe, which no longer exists anymore because of financial malfeasance of some sort. I don't know what happened, but it folded, doesn't exist. So I moved out to New Mexico from the suburbs of Washington, D.C. I lived in Fairfax, Virginia. That's where I came from. And moved out to the Wild West of New Mexico, which I fell in love with. I still love to this day. And if I ever become a millionaire, we'll probably retire somewhere in Santa Fe. It's a beautiful little art town with some great, just completely different energy than you get anywhere else in the world. While I was out there, I was going to a film program. I wanted to be a screenwriter. And while I was at the school, the part of the selling point for the school was it allowed you to work at or go to a school that had 2 sound stages that were professionally used. There was a TV show being filmed there at the time. Well, not at the time, but over this summer after my first year, which I was immediately put on academic probation because I was a piece of shit student. So then I ended up getting a room with my roommate, one of the greatest guys I ever knew in my whole entire life, Brian, and then another great, unbelievably amazing guy named Omar. We both, all 3 of us got a little 2-bedroom apartment. I slept on a dog bed because I couldn't afford a bed, so I got like this dog cushion thing to sleep in my little room, and we stayed in an apartment. And while I was there, I was working at a restaurant. I was working at as a busboy. When you're a young, handsome young man, you work at a busboy in a very affluent, gay town, you make pretty good money. And I happened to work the night that the TV show that was being filmed at my school called Earth 2 was being filmed there, the creature effects department specifically. And I have always been a nerd for creature effects, any kind of makeup effects. I used to subscribe to Fangoria. I used to subscribe to Cinemagic, which was like another subsidiary of the Starlog Fangoria, whatever magazine triumvirate. And it showed you how to make like stuff, make your own prosthetics and things like that. So I knew a lot about that stuff. I tried my hand at it. I made a few latex masks as a kid. It's like caveman looking thing. I bought this great little how-to manual by this guy named Dick Ayers. Anyways, so schmoozed my way onto the set basically by proving that I knew about creature effects and I could do this. And so they hired me as a production assistant in case the show got renewed for a first season, which it did after the pilot. So I quit school, started working as a creature effects production assistant, which meant basically everything from getting my boss's laundry to cleaning up his house, to running little fruity little parties at his place, to, doing all the basics, cleaning the brushes, cleaning the stuff, keeping the trailer clean, doing on-set makeup maintenance, learning how to do all this jazz. And then at the end of the year, the show did not get renewed, so everybody moved back to LA, and they invited me back to work with them. And so I said, you know what? Hell yeah, I'm leaving New Mexico. I'm moving to LA. What a dream. I moved to LA and worked in the film department or the film industry for a chunk of change. I don't know, a few years. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't mentally prepared. I was a dumb 19 going on 20-year-old who thought that the world owed him something and bitched about stuff that I shouldn't have and didn't know how to just suck it up and work hard. So instead I complained a lot and eventually got out of it. Got married. Met somebody at a Renaissance fair, got married, moved way far away from Los Angeles to San Bernardino, which is right where I'm sitting. This place is the nexus. This is the center of it all. This is a command center. This is where magic happens. San Bernardino, California. One of the worst places you could ever imagine. And because of that, what a great place to write music. So I lived out here, started a band. Bunch of friends. We all got together. We decided we all wanted to make music. I always wanted to make music. I used to make music as a young man in a teenage band in my high school on a 4-track cassette recorder, which I still use to this day. Not the exact one, but I bought one again on eBay that does, it's the same thing. And anyways, so over the years, we started a band. We'd go to the recording studio. I learned how to record a little bit because I'd go in the recording studio, and I was more infatuated with the process of the recording than actual making the sounds coming out of it. I wanted to see what the guy was doing. So I talked to the guy that ran the studio, this guy named Dave Swanson. Great guy, awesome guy, runs Love Juice Laboratories. And he was kind of hiring people that had any sort of interest in this thing because he needed other people that were interested. And I was very, very interested. So I worked there started as an intern, then started working there. Recorded a bunch of bands. It was an incredible learning experience. I learned a ton of stuff. I learned on the fly because you just have to. And I probably ruined a lot of people's demos and albums, and I feel terrible about it because I didn't know what I was doing, but I was trying and knew enough about the gist of it and the basics, and my old days of 4-track recording kind of aided in that. And then after that, realized I really don't want to do this for a living, and this is a feast and famine thing, just like working in the film industry was. So I quit, but I took everything I knew and built my own little studio because I realized, why pay for studio? The thing you're always up against when you go into a studio, if you're going to book studio time, is you're up against time. You book a couple days, maybe, a certain block of hours, and your band has to be on point. You got to know what you're doing. You go in there and you knock it out, and whatever you get, and the best you can do is the best you can do, and that's it. And then there's no real fixing it afterwards, unless you want to shell out more money. So why wouldn't you just learn how to do this and then start your own studio? So that's what I did, because I knew that time was really the big thing that we needed. I need more time to get my voice right because I'm a terrible singer, and I need more time to play bass right and all the other things that happen. And then you realize that writing in the studio is a much more productive thing than writing in a room where you probably are playing through a terrible PA. You're probably like hearing tons of echo and feedback and whatever, and you're dealing with everybody else's time and problems, and nobody can ever practice long enough, and you can't find 5 other guys that are willing to practice 8 hours a day. That's just not going to happen. No matter how passionate everybody is, there's all sorts of other things. People have girlfriends, people have wives, people have kids, people have everything. So you've got to record and write in the studio. That's what I realized. So I made my own studio. That's where I'm at. So I have recorded a couple of records here. I recorded my first, I have a band called End. I wouldn't even call it a band. It's just me. It's just like an electronic thing, kind of like a wannabe Nine Inch Nails, but meets some kind of punk rock aesthetic. And that's where I've done everything I've done here for that band. But also the Order of the Fly, which is my main band. That's where, that's where I have a real band of real musicians and guys that are like my brothers and sister. We've practiced forever. We've played these things a million times. We play live. I think we're pretty good. But this is where we record too. I recorded 2 albums here. I recorded one album called Into This Abyss, and then the most recent album called Desolation Park, entirely here. Everything before that was kind of recorded in and out of a recording studio. But those 2 were here. All done by me as a project, like amateur project recording amateur type guy that watches a lot of YouTube videos and watches a lot of things on how to get better at this thing called recording. And my abilities at it I'm always learning. I'm not saying that I know what I'm talking about when I talk about things, but it's just, I figured I could give a couple little bits of wisdom for people that are like me, that want to do this thing, don't have any professional background in it, never went to school in it, just sort of generally like the music that they like and want to make music too, and you don't want to put a ton of money into it. Pretty much all told, I think when I've got a couple of those KRK speakers, those are a couple $100 a pop. I've got a studio monitor and computer that I built myself, maybe $1,000. I've got this Art Tube preamp thing. I don't know, maybe a couple $100. One of the Focusrite in-out, audio in-out interfaces things. That was probably like $500. So, I mean, I haven't spent a ton of money, but it's like stuff that I have to squirrel away money to. I'm not like a trust fund guy, this is paycheck to paycheck life. And so little by little, I built these things up. So it took until I was 50, until I felt like I had enough stuff to really record something good. I got a few good mics. I got like a nice, like a not that nice, it's like a couple $100 Rode NT1. I've got like a warm audio condenser. I've got a AKG condenser. Nothing like a Neumann or anything, but something that's good enough for a tiny little project studio that you can still make good stuff with. And I don't know how many thousands of dollars I've spent on like VST synths and effects and plugins and all that stuff. And I mean, it adds up, but it's not something that, it's not to dissuade anybody that's like a young teenager that's just getting into this. I mean, there's a ton of freeware stuff, and the freeware stuff is pretty much as good as the paid stuff. It's like you're really just paying for a GUI and ease of use. But if you can arrive at the same thing with anything, probably if you're smart enough. I'm not smart enough, so I need the cheat codes and I need the easy stuff. So I buy the thing that does pretty much what I need to do without me really messing with it too much. So today I came into the studio. I was going to record some vocals. We're re-recording some old songs, and we're going to put out an album of re-recorded stuff with all the band members that we've had in the band for well over a decade, 15 years ish. And but a lot of the stuff we play live in the order of the fly is stuff that's from the earlier albums with different musicians and stuff. And we realized, you know what, these guys aren't. The drummer's not on it, maybe, or the guitar player's not on it, or maybe only one keyboard player or something. Somehow, somewhere, there's somebody that's not on a lot of these songs, or some of these songs have never been like actually really put out even on like Spotify or anything. So we're like, let's record the stuff that, you know, we play these things live. Let's re-record it. So that was the goal. It sounds pretty cool. One of the acquisitions I was able to make over the years was a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier amp that used to be owned by Death by Stereo. So it was used. It was good. That thing made a big difference in learning how to like reamp. That's another thing I had to buy as a reamp device to actually like record through a tube amp and get a decent tone, different than a VST like amp modeler, which aren't bad, but you know, sometimes I've arrived at the point in my life where I want like the real deal. Want to sound like a real band, man. And so so we're re-recording that stuff. I came out here today. It's about 102 degrees. I'm sweating my nuts off, and I'm trying to do vocals and realize that my voice is a piece of shit. And so I'm not going to do vocals today. I'm going to actually like try and redo a YouTube video. So at the same time, I'm working on some other stuff. I spent a year, roundabouts a year in Africa. I'm in the Army Reserves. I'm a soldier. I do my job, I feel like, fairly competently. I really am passionate about my Army job. I don't want to talk about it too much on YouTube, but I love what I do, and I love the guys that I work with. It is another huge, enormous part of my life, but it's not a YouTube thing. I fucking hate any sort of online military influencer, so I'm not going to talk about any military stuff, but that's where I was for a good chunk of my life, past year or so, or a good year. I was in Africa. It was a deployment. Went to a bunch of weird places, saw a bunch of weird shit, did a bunch of weird shit, did a bunch of stuff that if you buy me a couple beers, maybe I'll tell you about one day. But I've seen some shit and done some shit. And while I was there, though, I brought this great little gizmo, and I would like to go ahead and sell you guys on this thing. I brought this. This is the Roland MC 101. If you're interested at all in any kind of like electronic type music, I don't know what kind of genres you're into or whatever, but you buy one of these things right now, okay? This thing's not that much money. Can't remember how much I got it for. It's worth saving up for or putting on a credit card. This thing is the shit. It is a 4-track synth groove box, okay? So you've got a shit ton of synth sounds in all different categories: synth bass, pads, leads, whatever, poly keys and stuff like that. But you also got a ton of drum settings, and you can upgrade. You can buy like little sample packs and stuff that they sell. This thing is battery powered. Takes up this much space. I don't know, 3 decks of cards or something. Not that big. And you put a little SD card in it, and you can record your own stuff, and you make your own little songs. It takes a little bit of getting used to. I mean, all this stuff does. I'm not a genius. I'm not like a big computer programmer guy. I'm not a big freaking recording guy, actually. I mean, I love this stuff, but I try my hand at it. I'm kind of dumb. I'm incredibly dumb, actually. And so it takes me a while to figure things out. This thing took me a good, I'm going to say, 3 or 4 months before I really felt like competent in it. Look how cool that looks once you light up those lights. That thing is great. If you make electronic music, you gotta get one of these little guys, okay? So, because here's what you do. You write on this thing all the time. It's like having a sketchbook. You have a sketchbook if you're an artist. You draw little things and stuff, and then you eventually are gonna turn that into a bigger project. This thing, same thing with music. So I would taking it around Africa, everywhere in combat zones, in the middle of fucking God knows nowhere, with like, I mean, just literally like the wild, just wastelands of the universe. Bring this little guy, and you'd sit there, and with a couple of cheap ass little headphones, you can still make beats. You can still make like sort of just generally the ideas of a song, and then later on, you take that thing, plug it into a DAW, into your computer, and it'll download not just the 4 tracks of audio that you've recorded, but all in stereo. So really 8 tracks. And then it will also, you can record the MIDI. And the MIDI is like the thing that you wrote. So you can take that MIDI, and then you can say, you know what, I don't really like the drum sound I had on this thing, but I'm going to take that MIDI set that I did, and I'm going to run it through another drum BST program. And when you do that, then all of a sudden you've got like, you realize you do that with all your synths, you do that with everything. You got like you can just kind of like constantly work on it, turn it into a big thing. So because what I did when I was there, I made, I don't know, an album or so worth of songs during my experience in Africa, out in, you know, parts unknown where no one wants to go, and civilization knows no foothold. I wrote a bunch of stuff out there, and I'm turning that into a record too. So I wrote, and I got 1 song done now. So I put some vocals and stuff on it. I did what I said. I imported all this stuff. I made my own little song out of it, and I got, I don't know, 10, 12 more or so to go. But it's a process. And as I go through it, I figured I'd go through it with you guys and show it to you. This is a video that is not for anybody in particular other than someone like me, younger, hopefully, that's like not sure how to do this stuff and wants to like see a real world thing, not somebody that's like some pro. I'm not like some guru that can tell you the perfect like EQ fucking curve for vocals or something. Because me, I'm constantly like tweaking stuff, and I'm like, it's not good. And let me watch 10 more fucking YouTube videos on how to do this. Oh, okay, maybe I'll try this, and I'll fall down a rabbit hole. I'll really enjoy what I'm hearing by it, and then later on I'll change it and realize that everything I did was horrible. But eventually you get to a point. One of the little quotes on the DAW that I use is funny, and I like it. It says, a good mix is never finished, it's only surrendered. And that is 100% true, just like any kind of art. So this is me rambling. I'm going to go ahead and call it quits now because it's too hot, and I'm starting to sweat really bad, and I don't want to get all sweaty on camera. But as I go through this process, I figured while I'm here in the studio working on stuff, I'll talk about what I'm specifically doing. Not today, though. Today I'm just going to say hi. This is just conversational. We're having a conversation. I don't know if it matters. I don't know if anybody's going to watch it. But this is just like a little slice of life. This is a video diary for me for years later, when I can look at myself and go, hey, I used to be young at 50. And I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. I do know what you do need to do is you need to get a crystal decanter. You get one of these after your dad dies. So once your dad dies, he's going to have one of these things, and you're going to keep this thing, and you're going to actually put whiskey in it instead of just leaving it on a shelf. Because this is the way that, you know, civilized people used to live back in the 50s and 60s, where you would go over to somebody's apartment and they'd ask you, what do you want to drink? And they would say some crazy, you know, off the wall cocktail, and you'd go ahead and make that for them because you had all the fixins. We don't do that in 2025. So what you do is you just keep that decanter and you put a little bit of whiskey in it and you hang on to that because that's important. That's part of the recording process. Not overindulging. No. You overindulge and you're going to screw everything up. But you keep a little bit of the social lubricant within your system in order to overcome some of the inhibitions that you might have about deleting something that you think sucks, because you're going to record so much stuff that sucks, and you have to be honest with yourself and realize, you know what, this sucks. Today, when I was recording vocals, I realized this sucks. Everything I've done today is shit, and I'm deleting all of it because my voice sounds like a sort of semi-hoarse 85-year-old man. Partially because I think I'm getting over a cold, and also because I'm 50. And when you're 50, your voice is not what it was when you were 20. And when you're re-recording a song that you recorded when you were in your 20s as a 50-year-old, you got to come to a couple of little life realizations and realize that voice is gone. That part of your life is over, like most of your 20s is. And you're going to have to just go, I got to find a new way to do this, because I'm not a kid. I'm an old man. Semi-old, youthfully old. And you got to realize things aren't what they used to be. And you're going to have to do a little soul searching and understand that your voice is a new voice that you have, and you got to find it. And it's not easy to find at first. What you should probably also get is some chewing tobacco. If you're smoking, you got to quit. That's bad for your lungs. But I feel like nicotine is a nootropic that is incredibly beneficial to cognitive function. So don't do Zyn. Zyn's fake and weird. But you go ahead and get yourself a can of Cougar. Half the price of Grizzly, a.k.a. the welfare bear. You're really getting off cheap. Do a little bit of chewing tobacco. Have a little whiskey. Try and record some cool stuff. Don't overindulge with either. But those things in combination can add to the musical excitement. They've fueled pretty much all of my musical endeavors thus far, which might explain why they're not good, but it also might explain why they would have been way worse. I don't know. It's like a scientific experiment every single time you try. That's it. I'll probably do this again some other time. Have a good one.